What is up, pod pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School. It's a show where I teach podcasters simple strategies to help you grow your audience and turn your podcast content into new clients. And today we're talking about tips for developing an offer and selling it to your podcast listeners. I have been getting a lot of questions from you all about developing that first offer. What should I create? What do my audience members actually want to buy from me? And then how in the world do I sell that to them? This is a live coaching episode. And I'm strategically using this topic today because I've got a beta offer that I'm testing. And if this topic of developing an offer or optimizing a current offer and selling it to your listeners, if this is a major pain point for you, please pay attention to what I'm about to say. I'm going to do a 10-person beta group that involves one-on-one coaching with me. I'm calling it my new Speed to Results program. We're going to focus on either offer creation or offer optimization and sales strategy. So we're going to spend 14 days doing one-on-one coaching together where you're going to walk away with a specific customized strategy to optimize a current offer or create a new one, and then market it and sell it effectively to your podcast audience. This is going to be awesome. I've never offered anything like this before. That's why we're doing a beta test group right now. It's got one-on-one coaching with me. It's got office hours access. I'm going to throw a little bonus office hours in there, even more than what's listed on the website. And then we've got 14 days of direct Voxer messaging with me as well, where we can get some quick questions answered, all the online courses, materials. We're going to get the dang thing done. All right. We're going to finally get you an offer that you feel comfortable with selling. You know how to effectively sell it without feeling all salesy. All right. Now the registration window is open between now and June 5th. There are 10 spots available in the beta group at $500. All right. This is the cheapest you can get one-on-one coaching with me. I can't remember the last time I offered one-on-one for $500. Now, if we end up getting more than 10, I'll probably raise the price to $800. So you need to hop on this. If you want that $500 price, you do not have to start the program right away. I realize this is a time of year when a lot of us are doing traveling. So I would hop on, get one of the 10 beta group spots at $500. Then I will follow up with you and we can start the 14 days, July 1st or whatever makes sense. You need to start the program by July 31st. That is important. I want to get this done. I don't want you out there podcrastinating on doing this. When we set up your sales campaign, I really want to look at August, September, October, and November. Those are really prime months for selling things online and via your podcast. So I want to optimize a multi-part sales strategy with your content, with your testimonials, with the specific calls to action, the episode topics. We're going to get that all dialed in. Your email list, if you have a newsletter, we'll use that. Social media will leverage that as well. This is going to be amazing. You're going to want to be a part of this if you have that pain point of you don't know what to sell, you don't know what your audience wants to buy from you, or if you've tried selling an offer and it's been a flop. Let me help you out. I'm good at this and would love to have you as a part of that beta group. Again, the registration window is open now for the next 3 weeks. I'm recording this episode a few weeks in advance, so those 10 spots might get gobbled up pretty quickly. Now, the link is in the show notes. I'll also put it on the main website, www.podcastingbusiness.school. And that way you can get plugged in, take action. Would love to work with you in this beta group. All right. So today, this is kind of an appetizer episode for the topic of my new offer. We're talking about tips for developing an offer, selling it to your audience. Notice how much we get done with me and my pod pal Ross in just 30 minutes. All right. This is a little teaser for what could be if you get one of those 10 beta group spots. All right, pod pals, no more delay. Let's jump on into this live coaching session with my pod pal Ross. All right, we are here with my pod pal Ross from the Green Urbanist podcast. We're doing a little podcast listener to client conversion audit. Ross, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Adam. Great to be here.
Okay, so let's do I just want to do a quick overview of the information that you filled out for me to get our audience caught up to speed. All right. So we're looking at me cooking up a strategy to help Ross convert listeners into paying clients. His show is called The Green Urbanist. It's got a title extension, Sustainable Placemaking, Planning, and Urban Design. Ross is at 120 total episodes released. He's got 750 people on his email list. And one of the areas we're going to focus on is helping him out with the issue of narrowing down his ideal client and creating the right offer that they may want to purchase from them. Is that all sounding correct so far, Ross?
Perfect.
All right. So let's dive into a few clarifying questions. Describe your ideal client avatar for me. And I want you to think about like, who is the person that you love helping and that you feel like you could help out the fastest? What are some descriptive terms of that type of a person?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is kind of my first roadblock in that I have had I'm kind of a generalist, and so I can do a number of things. I have quite a wide range of experience, and for the last year I've been working for myself, freelance, and in that time I've largely been doing kind of educational work, so things like working for nonprofits who need to run training programs, and I've been helping them presenting or doing curriculum development and things like that. And that is almost, although I think having the podcast has helped me get that work, it's almost quite separate to who I'm speaking to in the podcast. So that to me feels like part of the issue I'm having, in that the work that I do is for clients who I'm not directly speaking to through the podcast.
Okay. Well, let's maybe redirect this question a little bit. What about the people that you are speaking to, that you're passionate about speaking to? Out of that group, who do you feel like you could help the most or help the fastest, or that you would love to help the most? Let's try to find some like through line descriptors of those people then.
Yeah, totally. I think the through line is people, largely built environment professionals. So people like architects and urban planners, that's my background, who are really passionate about taking action on climate change, but who don't have training in that. They don't really know where to start. And they want to, really start bringing that into their work and doing something meaningful. But yeah, they need a little help to get started with that. I'd say that's probably the through line of most of my work.
Okay. And the good news is, just by me like reading the name of your show and going through the description, looking at some episode titles, that was the vibe I was getting. So that's good. Also, side note, my son is a ninth grader in high school, and he is really considering engineering architecture. He's taking an architecture class as a freshman. Like, there are only 9 kids in this architecture class because everybody's like, it's so hard, and he loves it. So I'm gonna have to refer him. Maybe he's a future green urbanist like yourself. But I think so. That's the good news, is like your naming, content, branding. That was the gist that I was getting from it. So that's a great starting place. So with your content, how do you feel like how are you making that audience on your podcast aware of the problems that you could solve for them? Do you feel like you're doing that with solo episodes and things like that? Or like, how are you raising problem solving awareness and positioning you as an expert on your own show?
Oh, that's super interesting. I think I started, so the podcast has been going for quite a while, sort of over 5 years. And so I've done a mix of solo episodes and interviews. And interestingly, what I found is that if my top 5 episodes, 4 of the top 5 are solo episodes of me, like deconstructing a problem, showing the research behind it, that kind of thing. So, and listening to your podcast, I kind of, taking your advice, I realize I need to do more and more of that and actually lay off the interviews a bit and make that a bit more strategic. So that is something I will definitely do going forward. I think the last year or two, it's been a little bit scattergun, like just trying to put out lots of content, doing lots of interviews, but not having like a really strong theme or a strong focus on, here are the, solving problems basically.
Okay.
So at the moment, a little bit hit and miss, but I take that as a definitely a good takeaway.
Yeah. Well, I think you are doing an admirable job of doing solo episodes. Most people aren't doing as many solo episodes as you, so that's great. Like I looked at it, it's close to 50%, I would say, as far as just like looking at titles. That's just me scanning titles and no one else's name is mentioned. I'm like, I assume that's a solo episode. So, okay, just a couple quick ideas, because this is a very simple but newer problem that I try to solve for people. But I think that it could be as simple as in the beginning of your content, just calling out which problem it is you're solving with that content today. So when I record the intro for this episode, I will mention, hey, one of the problems I love solving for my listeners and for my clients is how to convert more listeners into paying clients. That's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. So if you have this problem, we're going to start solving it with today's content. It can be that simple. So just in your intro, one of the problems that I love helping solve for my clients, for my listeners, both, whatever, however you want to label it, you can shift that around and then just name the problem. And it seems kind of weird and very simple, but I don't want to assume that people, with ChatGPT and all these things that exist, people could be thinking like, he's just getting all this from the computer. This could be just spoon fed via ChatGPT. So really calling out the fact like this is a problem I love getting hands on and working with you all and helping you solve. Here's the issue. And this content is a great way to start solving that. So is that making sense so far?
Yeah, totally.
So that's a simple way to do it. One thing I had a question about was like the potential for either case study episodes or a coaching type of an episode, or even like a let Ross solve your urbanist problem type of an episode. Like it could be a voice note of somebody that's like, okay, I am in the urban design architecture space. I've got this client or this project, and I really want to add more client-friendly solutions to it. What would you do? It's kind of like a what would Ross do type of an episode almost. Do you feel like there's any potential for any of that type of content? I know that's a big bucket, but any of those kind of striking a chord with you?
I do. I do think that would be good, because I think a big challenge in the world I'm in is that often people don't realize there are solutions that exist, or they just need to be pointed towards something. So if someone is saying, I have this kind of project, what would I do? I can probably quite easily say, okay, here's the first 5 things you should look into. And I won't give them the full, here's the perfect answer, but at least I'd be able to tell them, like, here's the direction you should go in.
Yeah.
Which I think could be really helpful.
Yeah. So I think doing this type of an episode, doing, again, if you could get a voice clip from somebody saying, all right, Ross, here's the problem that I've got, or even a written in, and then you read it. I just want your listeners to start seeing you in the coach's seat a little bit. That's kind of the first step of us doing this. I've done hundreds and hundreds of these types of episodes, and people that binge listen to my show hear me doing dozens and dozens, at least about every 3 episodes, you're going to get one of these of me coaching. And these are my most downloaded episodes, by the way. Sometimes people are like, oh, people don't listen to those. But even though I cover a lot of the same type of problems, it's always from a different angle. I've never talked to anybody. I've never coached a green urbanist architecture-based podcast, like an environment, like this is a totally new niche. Your experience level is different than when I talk about this in the past. So there's always a little nuance, and what we say today will strike a chord with somebody out there listening. And sometimes they need to hear it 3 times or 7 times before they go, the fruit just became ripe. It's time to pluck it off the tree and put it into action. So, I think this is a great strategy for you to explore. Now, well, let me pause. Any questions about like just pulling that type of an episode off? Any roadblocks? You're like, ooh, that sounds great, but anything there that would be preventing you from doing this type of an episode?
Sounds exciting. I guess the first hurdle is always like getting started with the first 2 episodes when people don't see you as someone who does that, maybe. So what would be your suggestion for getting the first few people to like send in their questions?
Yeah, great question. This is the number one roadblock to getting started. And if people don't know this going in, they will almost quit before they start, because it is a heavier lift to get started. And people, here's what people assume. I'll post on social media saying, hey, come on my show for a free blah, blah, blah audit thingy. And no one responds, or worse, 10 people respond and no one shows up when they sign up for it. And like that happens too. And people are like, this is way too hard, not worth it. So I would start with the minimum effective dose, simplest version of this. And I would say, hey, if you're on social media, I'd say DM me your problem and I will solve it on the show. Or if you send out an email to your email list, like you have a decent sized email list, I would probably start there and go, hey, maybe fill out this Google form or fill out or just hit reply and give me the issue, and I'm going to read it and answer it on the show. That's kind of the minimum effective dose, easiest lift. And then you start doing those types of questions. And maybe the 3rd time you do an episode like that, you go, hey, these are great. I'm enjoying it. We're getting, great feedback from these. What I'd really love to do is invite some of you onto the show so we can have an actual conversation about this. If you'd be interested in that, I've got a Google form in the show notes. Fill that out. Would love to be in touch and just kind of see what happens. And maybe you send it an email. Hey, I mentioned this in the episode this week. Wanted to make sure that you saw this as well. And let's see if we can pull some people in. I think that would be a nice little stair-step approach to getting people to come on the show. And then when those episodes do start happening, then again, you kind of use the intro and outro strategically and go, all right, if you want to come on the show also, the link is in the show notes, blah, 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 blah. So that's kind of like the stair-step approach that I would take. It'd be easier on you and easier on your audience. Is that helpful?
That makes sense. Totally.
Okay. So I think a good action step there is like, let's send out an email that you've got a great email list. And if you want to put some qualifying questions on there, like I did with this, I said, people need to, if they want to do a listener client conversion audit, they need to have 100 people on the email list. They got to have 20 episodes and they got to have sold at least $500, like made $500 online. And you checked all the boxes, you applied and you got a spot. So that could be another, you could do that or you could not do that. That's up to you, or even just have them fill out some information on what types of problem they want to solve. And you can kind of, if you have more than one person reply, that'll allow you to kind of rank like, ooh, this one seems like I really want to focus on this more than this other issue. So just some thoughts there. Now, I want to give you just kind of a really basic strategy, 4 steps that I feel like it's not talked about enough in what I call the content entrepreneur space, content creators that are trying to make a business of this thing. So the first step, and we'll kind of pause it as I go through each step, but the first step is with you, we need to really clearly define your ideal client / listener avatar. And I think that, this is something that will evolve. So what I don't want you to do is be like, I got to get this perfectly right off the bat here before I even make an offer or do anything. This is going to be something that you kind of start in point A, but it will evolve to point C or D or E. Like it's going to always be changing, and that's normal and that's okay. So one of the things that helps me, and I make all my clients do this, is to map out, think about your podcast listener, kind of forget clients for a second. Think about this podcast listener avatar that you've already developed and think about what I call the ideal listener journey. So what journey are they trying to go on as someone learning from you? And that's different than like a customer journey of, that's like we're not talking about like your funnel or anything like that. It's like your listener. So for me, my listeners are content creators. And the first part of the journey is launching the show. The second part is growing the show. The third part is kind of figuring out how to monetize the show. And the fourth part is like maintaining and scaling and, still having a life at the same time. So what are they trying to accomplish? What are they trying to develop? What kind of benchmarks and goalposts are they trying to achieve? And just think about that a little bit. And this is something that I want you to think about just dialing in, and maybe you revisit once a quarter or twice a year and go, okay, how's this person changed? Some of my clients love to like name this person, like it's Bob. Bob here is, this quarter, I had my conversation with Bob and I figured out that in phase 3, he's really trying to achieve this instead of this. And it's evolved a little bit. So this will help you dial this thing is putting your feet in the shoes of your ideal listener as they walk this path and really thinking about them. Because any coach, we have a viable business as long as we are like 3 steps ahead in the path of our ideal listener avatar. So even if you're like on phase 2 and they're mostly on phase 1 of this journey, that's great. They're going to want to learn from you. So don't let that hold you back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So that's step 1. We got to really work on defining and evolving this listener avatar. But don't put pressure on yourself to get it exactly right from the start. This will be an evolution. The second part of this that we can kind of do at the same time, so we don't have to do step 1, then step 2. It's kind of step 1 and 2, is create a minimum viable offer that allows you to test helping out your ideal listener avatar, solving a variety of problems. So a mistake that a lot of content entrepreneurs make is so like, okay, it's obvious to me that they have this one problem and I will create this online course or write this book or whatever that is this one thing solution. And I'm going to create a sales page, and I'm going to have a marketing tour. I'm going to pay all this money for all this stuff. And then it flops, and we kind of get pissed and we quit. So I want you to have flexibility. And I've really changed the way that I view offers lately. I view them as like coaching containers. So I really only have 3 offers. I've got group coaching, hybrid coaching, which is one-on-one plus group coaching, and then just like a one-on-one sprint. And notice that I don't like, that's not like, ooh, and I've got this online course, and then I've got this membership, and then I've got this other thing, this mastermind. Those are the containers, and I can solve an immense amount of problems with those containers. And they're generalized. So if somebody comes to me and they say, Adam, I heard in your show, you said you love helping people solve the problem of converting listeners into paying clients. I go, yes. And they go, what's your program for doing that? I go, well, first let's talk about how you want to be coached and what's your budget for working with a coach. And we look at the pricing. And if they say, I really love group coaching, I say, great. That is my lowest price bucket. That's going to be very affordable for you. I've got group coaching, and I can solve this and then I start talking about tools that I have to solve this problem. So starting out, I would like to kind of see you create a minimum viable offer that's just starting out with just one-on-one stuff. It can involve a group offer, and just saying, hey, here's how we can work together. We're going to meet up once a week for X amount of time. I like to have some sort of connection zone outside of your one-on-one coaching time. I use the Voxer app just for quick messaging. This could be Slack. This could be email. I mean, it could be very, very simple. I want some sort of quick communication tool. And then what you'll eventually develop is tools, resources. Maybe it's a spreadsheet. Maybe it's a custom GPT thing. Maybe it's a little mini course video series or whatever. But we don't develop any of that stuff until we start solving problems. And we develop those resources because we go, okay, everybody's got this problem, and I can develop this Google Doc or this checklist or this thing to help them solve that problem faster. So that like all the courses and resources that I'm developing now, I only develop them for myself and for my clients, because I'm like, this is a problem that we could solve faster with this little video series or with this checklist or with this Google sheet. And I create that and I put that in the hands of my clients. And now that's another thing. When somebody comes to me with a problem, I go, oh yeah, in addition to our coaching and in addition to our Voxer chat or office hours, I'm going to give you this mini course that has 5 videos that really dives deep on this. So that way we don't have to waste any of our one-on-one time with this. That's going to help you accelerate the process, blah, 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 blah. So minimum viable offer. I want you to think about one-on-one coaching time, some sort of connection point outside of that coaching time, and then maybe just a simple like Google sheet dashboard where you can, track key performance indicators or something to track information that your clients would seem to be valuable. One of my philosophies is what gets measured improves. And so I create a little dashboard where my one-on-one clients and I, we track monthly downloads, email list growth, social media growth, revenue, things like that. So minimum viable offer. How is that sounding? Just kind of creating that little coaching container for one-on-one and starting there. Any questions on that so far, Ross?
Yeah, I've heard this advice from you before, and I think it's so interesting because it's the opposite of what you hear from so many other people online, which is find a really targeted problem and then create a solution for it. But I have tried that, and a year ago I did release an online course which sold a little bit, but then it sort of petered off, and then it sort of finished. So I was like, okay, that's obviously not going to be like the big money maker. No, I really like this. I'm trying to translate it into my, like, how people work in my sort of world, in my sort of field. And something that I come back to, which has worked really well in the past and is a more kind of common thing that rather than the one-to-one coaching, is doing like a workshop type offer. So you get people to block out 2 or 3 hours, and it can be multiple people as well. So it can be them and their colleagues and their, other people they collaborate with. And you just spend that time focusing on a project or, a problem they're having. And then by the end of it, they've kind of solved that or whatever. Yeah. That works quite well for the sort of work I do. So that I'll probably look into doing like a workshop, flexible workshop type offer.
Yeah. And I think in the online business space, those a lot of times those are even referred to as VIP days or one half VIP days. So let's say one person approaches you and says, "Hey, I would like to work with you." Like, "Oh yeah, we can do a half day VIP day at this price point. We're going to spend 2.5 hours together." And then if you're going to get multiple people in there or whatever, then that's or set a date. I don't want you to be, I don't want you to feel that pressure of got to get 5 people in this by this date. Like I would start as simple as possible, something that you feel like, okay, this works with just one person showing up and doing that. And then we can kind of scale it from there. Now, here's the cool thing is that, like you said, most people are like, start off with the niche problem and build the course. I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying let's create this generalized container and then you can send an email out or maybe do a podcast episode. And it's about a very niche problem. And you talk about how you love to help people solve that problem in the beginning, you start to solve it. And then at the end, you go, all right, so I'm experimenting with this a little bit in my coaching container. And I'm looking for 5 people that really, really need help solving this problem. And here's what we're going to do. And you kind of unpack, okay, we're going to spend 4 weeks working together, or we're going to do 2 of these workshops or whatever, however you're going to work with them and what they're going to get out of it. And we're going to focus on solving this problem together. So you call to that specific problem and invite to your coaching container, which you can solve a lot of different problems with. And then, like I said, if you have a lot of people going, whoa, this is a great deal. I'm in at this price point. I'm getting great results. That's when you go, okay, how do I create a few videos to speed up this process? Because when I'm on these workshop sessions, maybe you record the workshop and we can sell that as an 8-video course. And that's included now. That's a tool that we can put into any of our packages, and it applies to anything across the board. So it's just kind of taking that little baby step and explore different problems. So maybe in your newsletter, you do a different problem and go, hey, here's another thing that I'm doing. Looking for 5 people that would really love to work on solving this problem together. You're going to be my beta group and you're going to get 50% off what I would normally charge you for this. And now we've got testimonials. Now we're making money. Now, if we get a good response, we know, okay, this is a problem that I can focus on in my content. This is something I can focus on with my offers and creating tools around. So that's the way I would approach, just like, let's put fishing lines in the water with different problems you love solving, calling out to people, say, come and do this. I'm going to take 5 people, 3 people, whatever. Yeah. And pricing wise, what I like to do, I created a little spreadsheet tool for my group members that I call the Offer Creator, creative name. But what we like to do with the Offer Creator is I have my clients set their dream price. So whatever this minimum viable offer is, I want you to think of your dream price, which would be when that payment comes through, you are validated. You feel really good about that. You don't like throw up in your mouth going, ugh, should have charged more. This is going to be a real pain. 6 weeks with this fool. This is going to suck. We don't want any of those feelings. Dream price is, I feel really, really good about that. I feel like I'm being paid a fair value. Then what we do, we plug that into the spreadsheet and then it kicks out, okay, 65% of that. We're going to sell 3 of them at 65% of that. Then we're going to step it up to 85% and sell 3 there. And then we move to full price. So you have 2 little groupings of beta, and it can be usually 3 to 5 at each one of those stages, depending on that's your call. Some people are like, Adam, I'm only doing 1 at each. I'm like, okay, that's fine too. But it's validating for you. It's validating the price structure. It builds your confidence. And it kind of moves you up through that to where, like, okay, that honestly, if we set the dream price right, it should make you a little bit nervous. It should feel a little bit like, ooh, are people actually going to buy this? So we're going to prove that to yourself and to your audience with that stair-step pricing procedure. Any questions on that, Ross?
No, that sounds good. That's good homework.
Okay, cool. Now we've gone through the first 2 steps. I've got 2 more quick steps to cover here. So the first step, again, we're really going to work on defining that ideal listener avatar. Step 2, we're going to create a minimum viable offer container. The third step, we're going to create a clear call to action on your podcast and your newsletter. So in general, I'd love that to be a discovery call. But if you are going to do one of these shout outs for a problem, then make that the single call to action. And I would do that in your podcast and your newsletter on the same week. So if you're like, whatever the specific problem is, shout it out on both of those mediums. But in general, I would love it to be a discovery call. Just, hey, if you So a general format for a solo episode that I've been using is we call it the problem at the beginning, we solve the problem with the content. Towards the end, we're like, hey, and if you feel like you've built some momentum, but use a little bit of help, going a little bit faster with solving this problem, use the link in the show notes, hit me up for a discovery call, hop on the calendar. So very simple call to action. That's step 3. And then step number 4, I talked about earlier, Ross, what gets measured improves. I want you to track. This is one of the KPIs, the key performance indicators that I want you to start tracking month to month. How many discovery calls are you doing each month? And it doesn't take like a million. My goal per month is 10. So it's not like millions and millions and millions of discovery calls. My goal, I know if I do 10 per month, I feel like, okay, chances are I'm going to generate more than enough money to pay all my bills and feed my children and stuff like that. So, but just start tracking it and, kind of get competitive with that. And they go, wow, I've been trying to do 5 a month. I've only got 1 this month. I really need to start putting that discovery call link out there a little bit more aggressively to make sure people are aware of it. So that's the 4-step, really simple, minimum effective dose strategy of let's start converting listeners into paying clients. I think that combined with doing some strategic, some coaching episodes, some strategic content to position yourself as a coach on your own show, I think that'll help. So I gave you a lot. You've been taking great notes, and I think we've got a simple system here. And I want to take the last minute or so here. I want you to shout out your show, your website, where people can hop on your newsletter, things like that. So go ahead and take it away.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Green Urbanist everywhere. So greenurbanist.org is where you can find basically all the work that I do and the link to a discovery call. Green Urbanist is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And I'm on Substack as Green Urbanist for newsletter as well.
All right, Pod Pals, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Do not forget, I have opened up the registration for my brand new 14-day Speed to Results one-to-one coaching program. With this specific beta group, we are focusing on offer optimization and sales strategy. If you can use some help with creating your first offer or optimizing a current offer, and then mapping out a very specific campaign to sell it to your podcast audience this fall, I would be delighted to have you in this group. Again, it's one-to-one coaching, lots of exposure to me. We get this result built out in 14 days. Speed to Result, Pod Pals. The link is in the episode notes. It's also on the main website. With that, I'm going to send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. I'll see you on the next episode.